Hi, I'd like to welcome you all to this online recorded meeting of Narcotics Anonymous. My name is Steve and I'm an addict.
Hi, Steve.
I'd like to extend a warm welcome to you all. Thank you for your interest in Narcotics Anonymous and making this meeting possible. Narcotics Anonymous is not connected to the prison, although we are very grateful to the staff of the prison for allowing us this opportunity to share our recovery. Narcotics Anonymous is a volunteer member organisation. You are a member of Narcotics Anonymous when you say you are, and the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. Our message is that an addict, any addict, can stop using, lose the obsession to use, and find a new way to live. We carry a simple message of hope and freedom from active addiction. And we'd just like to begin, as we do in most meetings, with a moment's silence for the still suffering addicts, wherever they are. Thank you. An extra special welcome to anyone attending this NA meeting for the first time. We've got to have a few readings from our Narcotics Anonymous basic text, and Justin is going to start with Who is an Addict?
Okay, my name's Justin and I'm an addict.
Hi, Justin.
So most of us, who is an addict? Most of us do not have to think twice about this question. We know our whole life and thinking was centered in drugs in one form or another, the getting and using and finding ways and means to get more. We live to use and use to live. Very simply, an addict is a man or woman whose life is controlled by drugs. We are people in the grip of a continuing and progressive illness whose ends are always the same: jails, institutions, and death.
Thanks, Justin. Perhaps Aidan would like to tell us what is the NA programme.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Aidan. I'm an addict. What is the Narcotics Anonymous programme? NA is a non-profit fellowship or society of men and women for whom drugs have become a major problem. We are recovering addicts who meet regularly to help each other stay clean. This is a programme of complete abstinence from all drugs. There's only one requirement for membership: the desire to stop using. We suggest that you keep an open mind and give yourself a break. Our programme is a set of principles written so simply that we can follow them in our daily lives. The most important thing about them is that they work. There are no strings attached to NA. We're not affiliated with any other organisations. We have no initiation fees or dues, no pledges to sign, no promises to make to anyone. We are not connected with any political, religious or law enforcement groups and are under no surveillance at any time. Anyone may join us regardless of age, race, sexual identity, creed, religion or lack of religion. We are not interested in what or how much you used or who your connections were, what you've done in the past, how much or how little you have, but only in what you want to do about your problem and how we can help. The newcomer is the most important person at any meeting because we can only keep what we have by giving it away. We have learned from our group experience that those who keep coming to our meetings regularly stay clean.
Thanks, Aidan.
Thank you, Aidan.
Can Jason read why?
Can indeed. My name's Jason. I'm an addict.
Hi, Jason.
Why are we here? Before coming to the Fellowship of NA, we could not manage our own lives. We could not live and enjoy life as other people do. We had to have something different, and we thought we'd find it in drugs. We placed their use ahead of the welfare of our families, our wives, husbands, and our children. We had to have drugs at all costs. We did many people great harm, but most of all, we harmed ourselves. Through our inability to accept personal responsibilities, we were actually creating our own problems. We seemed to be incapable of facing life on its own terms. Most of us realised that in our addiction, we were slowly committing suicide. But addiction is such a cunning enemy of life that we had lost the power to do anything about it. Many of us ended up in jails or sought help through medicine, religion or psychiatry. None of these methods was sufficient for us. Our disease always resurfaced and continued to progress until in desperation we sought help from each other in Narcotics Anonymous. After coming to NA, we realised that we were sick people. We suffer from a disease from which there is no known cure. It can, however, be arrested at some point and recovery is then possible.
Jace. Ken, can you read just for today?
I can. Thank you, Steve. Hi, I'm Ken and I'm an addict.
Hi, Ken.
For today, tell yourself, just for today, my thoughts will be on my recovery, living and enjoying life without the use of drugs. Just for today, I will have faith in someone in NA who believes in me and wants to help me in my recovery. Just for today, I will have a program. I will try to follow it to the best of my ability. Just for today, through NA, I will try to get a better perspective on my life. Just for today, I will be unafraid. My thoughts will be on my new associations, people who are not using and who have found a new way of life. So long as I follow that way, I have nothing to fear.
Thank you, Ken. And the final reading is We Do Recover from Simon.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. I'm Simon. I'm an addict.
Simon.
When at the end of the road we find we can no longer function as a human being, either with or without drugs, we all face the same dilemma. What is there left to do? There seems to be this alternative, either go on as best we can to the bitter end, jails, institutions, or death, or find a new way to live. In years gone by, very few addicts ever had this last choice. Those who are addicted today are more fortunate. For the first time in man's entire history, a simple way has been proven itself in the lives of many addicts. It is available to us all. This is a simple, spiritual, non-religious program known as Narcotics Anonymous.
Simon.
Thank you, Simon. Okay, the format of today's meeting is that you're going to hear from each of us in turn, and the meeting will run for approximately 30 minutes. And kicking us off today is Justin. I'll just hand it over to you, Justin.
All right. Thanks, Steve. My name's Justin. I'm an addict. Been doing this a little bit of a time now, and I don't know if it's a complete well, but I've got some feelings going on. I feel a bit nervous, and I'm aware this meeting might get watched as well afterwards. And if you're watching this wherever you are at whatever point in time, I hope that you get something from it too. I was just, when we were reading the cards there, I think the first one had the most significance today. Whenever I'm listening to those cards, at different points or wherever I am, there'll be a little bit generally that stands out to me more than any other. And what stood out to me was actually the one that I read, believe it or not. Maybe I don't know, it's because I'm so self-absorbed at times, but jails, institutions and death, and that's where it ends up. And, that's where it kind of gets to. It got to there quite early. The first time I heard that reading, I was actually in E-Wing. And they said they've got this NA meeting up in the top corner of the wing. I've been there, God knows how long. I think I was doing a 4-year sentence, and I was on medical hold. I had all the issues, so I've grafted the doctors. I was doing the medication atch runs. I was selling the gear on the wing, and I'd become really adept at it. But there was also a part of me that knew at 40 years old, I felt that if I didn't change something soon, that this was going to be my lot, and my life was a real mess at that point. Even though a part of me didn't really know or believe that I could stop or stay stopped. And I remember the door closing for the NA meeting for the first time. These two guys come in, sparkling, talking all this really profound honesty that I found really impressive, whilst the part of my thinking is thinking, where is that kid that owes me the drugs? Why isn't he in this meeting? And he didn't come to the meeting. And my mind's between what I can when I can get that door open, and also listening to this message for the first time. And thankfully I heard that message, and just enough of it, I think, at the right time. And bless those guys for coming in and doing that, because my life the little bit of the belief that I needed just tipped the scales, because I knew they were genuine. What came out of the mouth, they could not have been there and gone through some process of transformation. They wouldn't have known the details like they did. And, I felt it in my heart, and then that tipped the scales. I didn't stop using straight away. I still grafted for a little bit, but I started to slow down, take my meds as prescribed. And then I planned a little detox, got the support, kept engaging with the meetings, had a little bit of a slip back, this and that, and then got out And I thought, I'm going to give it a few months, see if what these people say. Right. And bless them, somebody met me at the gate as well. And they took me to my first meeting when I went outside. I'd had 10 years in institutions by this point, 25 years of addiction, progressively getting harder. The effects on my family, the effects on, you know, people that once meant something to me, and I know that I meant something to them. You know, I was quite numb, actually, my truth is. And it took a little bit of a while getting some support around people who knew, kind of seemed to know what they were doing and were consistent with me and who wanted the best for me. You know, I got myself a sponsor and started to untangle some of this stuff in myself. And then wherever I've gone back and I've tried to put things right. You know, I sit here today, I'm 8 years clean, and I can't explain that to you. 8 years. And when I say clean, I mean, I haven't even had a drop of alcohol. It just seems, if you'd have said that to me 8 years ago, I really would have thought, oh, that'd be great. But I wouldn't have believed that was true. In fact, you know, I would have really thought that, you know, that's a fantasy, that's a spiritual fantasy or something, you know. But today it's become such second nature to me not to use, as it was second nature to use at some point. It's a profound shift. I'm going to finish on this because I know everyone else has got something to say, and I'd like to hear that. You know, I sat down with my mum, not having seen my mum for 20 years, and I get a bit emotional when I say this. And she said to me one day, you know, when I went back and I said, because I knew I owed my mum a massive amends for what the damage I'd caused. She said to me over a cup of coffee, she said, Justin, she said, I thought you'd stop taking them drugs one day. I really did. But I never ever thought you'd change this much. And it gives me a lot of peace that you have, you know. And I'm going to leave it on that, guys. Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
Lovely. I believe Simon's going to speak next.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Simon Addicts. You know,
Hi,
Simon.
I sit back here and I reflect, you know, around my using, you know, which was like 25 years of using, 23 years in and out of prison. And it blows me away. You know, Narcotics Anonymous blows me away. You know, just when I was outside here using, you know, it was all about ways and means to get more. And the consequences of that would be normally ending up in prison, you know. But when I was in prison, it was just the same, you know, ways and means to get more. I might not have been using as much, but that wasn't through choice. That was through what I could get hold of, you know, getting out of myself first thing on the morning to get down to that medication hatch with my backer and phone cards, you know, all ready to buy whatever I could buy. And same, you know, same with methadone, you know, down at the doctor's trying to get my script put 10 mil, not because I needed it. So I was chasing, I was looking a way to escape those away, you know. And I went to an NA meeting, must have been 2003 in prison, you know, and I didn't hear the message. I did not hear that message, you know. And then I remember, you know, I got out of prison 12th of April 2018 and came across Narcotics Anonymous. And I walked into that meeting, and I tell you what hooked me, what I heard a guy, an NA member, sharing about powerlessness, yeah, and what it meant. And I didn't have a clue, because I used to question myself, how come every time I pick up drugs, yeah, my life goes to crap and I end up in prison? I just could not understand that. And then I heard him share, you know, that once you use, yeah, you know, you're powerless and you cannot stop using. I thought it was the last use that did the damage, you know, but I learned, you know, one is too many and 1,000 never enough. It's the first one, you know, it's that sort of obsession and that compulsion of where we cannot stop using. You know, my life has changed massively. You know, I got a sponsor, you know, and I did some work on myself, you know, looked at all that guilt and shame that I carried around for many years, you know. I had a daughter, you know, like, and through my using and going to prison and that hectic lifestyle, I didn't see her for 19 years. And, you know, doing through that immense process. I remember the day I got in touch with her, it was on a fake Facebook account, because I didn't want people to know that I was about again, you know, and I messaged her and I said, Chloe, it's me, Dad. And she was like, my dad's dead. My dad's dead. You know, I didn't, prior to this, 4 years before this, somebody had gone up to her in town and said, oh, I'm just letting you know your dad's died. I wasn't aware of this. And she said, look, tell me something only you'd know. And I said, oh, when you were a baby, you had a little love heart there, a birthmark there, you know. And she said, and there's tell me something else. I said, oh, your middle name, you know, your middle name's named after one of her mum's friends. And I met her. I went and I met her, and I get emotional just speaking about this because it's like massive. I never thought it was going to be possible, you know. I went and met her, and we have a relationship today. I'm still learning how to be a father, you know. I'm just looking up there, you know, because I've got a picture up there, my new granddaughter as well, you know. And I weren't able to be present in my daughter's childhood, but today through Narcotics Anonymous, I can be present in supporting my daughter, bring my granddaughter up, and that's such a blessing. That is such a blessing, you know. So yeah, I'm just going to leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon.
Simon.
Lovely.
Thanks, Simon. Thank you.
I think Aidan's taking centre stage.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Aidan. I'm an addict. I think, like Justin said, I'm very conscious that this is going to be viewed possibly a number of times by a number of different kinds of people, some of whom I may have come across in the past, who knows. When I first came to Narcotics Anonymous, I wasn't sure if I had a drug problem. I knew I had a police problem. The Metropolitan Police and Her Majesty's Customs and Excise that they were at that time had conspired to make my life kind of difficult. And I had used a number of drugs every day for a long time, you know, many years. And but I had thought that my problem was a particular drug, and I'd stopped using that, I don't know, a year or more since. And, you know, but I had this thing on top, and also for a very long time, I had, in some way, sort of, at some level, I'd wanted to stop. At some level, I'd been desperate to stop, and had no idea how to do that, or really even that it was possible outside of a bloody Buddhist monastery or something. I came to Narcotics Anonymous via the helpline. I rang up. I was directed to a meeting, oddly enough, in a probation office at Notting Hill Gate, and I went there, and I heard that one is too many and 1,000 never enough, and I knew that was true. Now, it took me a little while to get and stay clean. I came in May and got clean in August. There was like for many of us, there was a period of transition. Meetings got me clean, and being in meetings and listening to people and hearing the truth, hearing stuff that made me realize I wasn't the only one that thought or felt or had behaved in that way. But over a period of time, the people that I like listening to the most, the people who had something going on for them that I found myself able to respect, all talked about having a program. And this, you know, and I wanted to learn about that. And there isn't a lot of time to go into that for you. What I want to say is this, that I have learned that there is a difference between being clean and being in recovery. There's a line somewhere in our basic text that says, if you take the drugs away from a drug-crazed addict, what have you got left? A crazed addict, you know what I mean? And look around the landings, do you know what I mean? Just because people aren't using, don't mean they're getting well. So, you know, I began to develop a program. I got a sponsor guide me with that. I read some of our literature with that. I'm like I say, I'm perhaps more aware than I need to be of the how precious the time is here, and how much I want to kind of show you what it is that's available to you, which is a better way of life. You know, I don't think it's a very radical proposition to suggest it's to someone with a drug problem that your life will probably work better if you're not using. And you know, when you get out, I assure you, there is no problem that you will face when you get out that using drugs cannot make worse. Really, you know, do kind of make it a priority to get to a meeting, and perhaps if you're fortunate enough to have H&I going on in the jail, or you've got the staff who are working with us, we could maybe arrange to have you met. We could maybe arrange to have you meeting. We won't always be in lockdown. You know what I mean? We will get back to face-to-face meetings. The live shows where the action is, I think. Yeah, you won't wake up tomorrow morning ever and think, God, I wish I'd used yesterday. And we can show you, we can help you achieve that. People have helped me. I've had huge help. Just because I'm clean doesn't mean I haven't had to face challenges. I stayed clean through the death of my son a number of years ago. And, in terms of something that can be thrown at me from outside, I don't expect I'll ever have to face anything as hard as that again. Although, to be honest with you, I'm just as likely to go off because somebody beeped a horn at me. It's molehills I trip over, not mountains. Mountains we just deal with. But anyway, I think probably that's enough from me. Come see us when you get out. You won't regret it.
Thank you, Aidan. Lovely. Jason.
My name's Jason, I'm an addict.
Hi, Jay.
Cheers.
So, like, kind of, I want to, I can kind of identify with what everybody else has said here. Do you know what I mean? My kind of using and my using came in three distinct areas, fun with problems, and then just problems. Do you know what I mean? Like, and by the time it kind of come to problems, I was kind of, I was just insane. By the time I ended up here, by the time I ended up in the treatment centre, I was an intravenous crack using, manipulative, angry, alcoholic, overthinking terrorist, basically. And like it said in the reading that I read, that I was the one that I was committing suicide, on a daily basis, and I didn't want to use. I kind of got here, into Narcotics Anonymous, and there was a pivotal point that kept me here. I was sat in a treatment centre, and I had my own thinking, my own volition. I sat there and I thought to myself, do you know what? My last prison sentence was 12 months. I did 6 months in there. I'm in a treatment centre now. Do you know what? I'm going to give this a go. And that's what I did. I gave it a go. Gave it a go. And what happened at that time was my mind opened up, and new ideas were grafting onto my head, and we kind of say about, kind of working the steps and having a sponsor, and doing service, and, and attending regular meetings regularly, and that's kind of what I did. And my story, where I've kind of got to now in my life, has been around, step work and service, and service especially, when I came in, I was selfish to the core. Anything that came to me, that to have a financial value to it, and through doing service for Narcotics Anonymous, doing this kind of stuff, kind of going into prisons and, doing service in meetings out there, it kind of changed my whole outlook to life, what it did by doing service, it made me accountable. It made me, kind of productive. It made me, turn up on time. It made me reliable. It just couldn't help this stuff, and through doing that stuff, I've been able to kind of transfer what I learned in here in Narcotics Anonymous and transfer it to out in the real world. Do you know what I mean? And I've been able to, kind of build a life now, a life where the life that I always wanted, the life I always wanted, I've got today, I was able to, through doing this, through listening to other people's, through, kind of, having a power greater than me, which is you lot and people around me, I was able to get new ideas on how to live, I was able to go to college, I was able to go to university, I left school in 1985 with not a qualification, and I graduated with a first class degree in 2014. I had an idea when I was 4 days clean in a rehab to be a filmmaker. Well, the actual statement I made was, I didn't say this, I'm just keeping it clean, but I said, them are rubbish, I'm going to remake them. And that was all I said, and I had this kind of idea and this dream, and I went and did it, and I started a film production company and did a master's degree, some of the stuff that I've kind of done through doing Narcotics Anonymous, through, having a spiritual program and having a look at kind of me and catching, seeing me coming, in the world, I've been able to kind of do some really mad stuff, I've been sentenced to 9.5 years in prison, and now I kind of teach filmmaking in a prison. I've got a set of keys, man. It's just kind of insane. I shouldn't, on paper. I was always told when I was in jail, you're not having DCAT because you're the wrong criteria. You've got escape from custody. You've got assault police officer. But now I've got a set of keys. Do you know what I mean? And I'm walking around in a prison, kind of doing that stuff. And it's all been through the stuff that I've done here. My whole outlook has changed on stuff. So I said to you before, I was an overthinking terrorist. Today, I went from smackhead, crackhead, glazing burglar to an OBE in 11.5 years. The Queen actually gets to meet me now, which is another story altogether. But what I'm saying is, you can and do and be anything you want to do. Just have a go at this, man. Try something different. But I'm going to leave it there because I know that I'm up to me 5 minutes. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Fabulous. Thank you, Jason. I'm Steve. I'm an addict. Lovely to be here. Welcome to all you guys inside. Whoever's watching this, absolutely welcome. Let's hope that we're all sat in a room together at some point, face to face. I've had so much identification with what everything everyone said. I'm 53 this year in July. I got clean on my 39th, just the last time I used, which was in this house where I'm sat, was the day before my 39th birthday. And then I turned up at my first Narcotics Anonymous meeting very soon after that. And was introduced to the idea of total abstinence. It was the light bulb moment, I think, for me. Really, I'd spent a couple of decades knowing that I had a problem, trying to address that problem in a variety of ways. And the idea of total abstinence had never, ever, ever crossed my mind. It just hadn't. And on the other side of addiction, now in recovery, it just feels like the most obvious solution. I mean, it is the most extreme solution, but, the problem I had was extreme. We don't kind of single drugs out in Narcotics Anonymous. We tend to approach the disease of addiction. But my own, how that manifested for me was, the drugs I used went in needles, and they were class A's, and it was, that was daily for a long time. So my behavior was extreme. It really was, and beyond the drug use, you know, my emotional state was extreme. There was a lot of anger, a lot of bitterness, a lot of confusion. You know, I was kind of an extreme person, and so the solution needed to be extreme, and it is. You know, total abstinence is extreme, but it's the simplest solution as well, and it certainly worked for me over this, you know, over this past 13 years, and I'm very grateful for that. You know, I arrived in NA quite poorly physically because of my drug use. I had, you know, blood-borne diseases, which I've managed to address in recovery. And, you know, I am now clear of those, thankfully. And one of the things that, you know, one of the things that I always wanted to do in my life was kind of get involved with kind of working within prisons. I've got a long, you know, criminal history. Thankfully, never ended up in jail, more by luck than by judgment. But my record is fairly extensive. You know, nothing major. I was just more of a nuisance, really, than anything. And I always thought that, you know, I always was kind of drawn to those places, drawn to the criminal side of life, and I always had a desire to kind of work within jail. And you know, since getting into recovery and getting involved in service, like has been mentioned, I have been able, you know, I've been encouraged and I've been able and given the opportunity to go into many prisons and carry this message of hope. You know what I mean? The prisons I've been in, you know, so many and regular as well. You know, I regularly sit in a meeting in HMP Full Sutton in North Yorkshire, HMP Wakefield in West Yorkshire, 2 maximum security prisons, you know, with men who, you know, have been in a long time, or who are going to be in for a very long time, and some of them who may never get out. But I've been able to sit in meetings with these people and carry a message of hope, and also feel very supported within those meetings. You know, over the past couple of years, I've been reunited with a son that I hadn't met for 25 years. I've been through a divorce to a woman that I married in recovery. You know, big stuff. I've entered a new relationship and finished, you know, been finished with. You know, I've been through some big stuff. And I've been able to sit in these meetings in the, you know, in jail and feel very, very, very supported by the NA members in those meetings. You know, I'm very grateful to NA for giving me those opportunities to, you know, share my recovery and have other people's recovery shared with me. So, you know, if you're new to NA, welcome. You know, just get involved. And I'm just going to leave it there and hand it over to Ken.
Cheers, Steve. Great.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks, lads. It's a real privilege to sit here and listen to you all. I'm Ken and I'm an addict. I'm just going to wrap it up. I've been asked to share particularly on what to do now. What would we suggest as recovering addicts in the NA community? What would we suggest to you that you do? Maybe say a few words about, hopefully, sooner rather than later, you're going to be coming out and having another go at life. And I want to say this one thing, is only anecdotal because we don't keep these sorts of records or statistics. But from my experience, and I've been clean for 26 years now, so I should know what I'm doing. You know, I should know. On a good day, I guess I do. And on a bad day, I'm just going to muddle through the same as everyone else and just make sure I get my head on the pillow, having not used, and give myself another day clean. But it is only anecdotal. But what our experience tells us that those of us who have been inside the criminal justice system, been inside institutions and jails, if we come out either clean or we come out and get clean. Those of us who get clean and stay clean, I want to say never, but I can't. But those of us who get clean and stay clean don't go back to prison. That's something that I can't promise you that, but that's our experience. That's something that maybe, just maybe, if you don't take anything else away from this half hour or so of listening to us speak, something that you might want to take away with you, that those of us who get clean and stay clean don't go back to prison. So it's a different life for us. It's a different world. Those of you who have to stay in there for a while, let me just say something. It's still a life worth living. It's got to be surely better than using. I could imagine how difficult it is finding ways and means to get more, being in the situation that you're in right now. It was difficult enough when my using finished outside. It was really difficult. So I can imagine that it's quite tough. Now, if you can get clean, stick with the people around you who are also trying to get clean, help one another stay clean. You can access some NA literature. Hopefully you can access the meetings inside the prison when all this is over, all the COVID's over. And look forward to maybe changing the way that you feel about yourself, feel about the world around you and what you want to do. Maybe you can do something different if you get the opportunity to come out. For those of you who just say you're coming out in the next few weeks or something, what I would like to say is it's a bit different out here at the moment. I don't know what it's like inside prisons, but it's a bit different out here. The what we call face-to-face meetings, where we sit in a room, we gather, we have a cup of tea, we have some banter, we have a joke, we've got physical contact. We're not sat there like being unable to breathe anywhere near anybody or anything like that. Those things aren't really happening right now. I'm living in London at the moment, and we have 250 NA meetings a week. So they're everywhere. But at the moment, there are very few that are happening where you can meet physically. So this is what we're having to do. What's going on right now is how we're having our NA meetings. So if you come out, what are you going to need? How are you going to access us on this platform, Zoom? Most of them are on Zoom. How are you going to do that? And it's with one of these. That's all you need. Saying all, you might not be able to walk out with one. Hopefully you can. But if you can't, then we need to get you one somehow. Either you can get yourself down to cash converters and do something useful for yourself for once down there in those particular institutions, or and I mean this and I promise this, there are people around, there are loads of us around who've got old ones, unused ones, downgraded ones, we've upgraded, we've got smartphones lying around in our drawers. If you can get in touch with NA and you haven't got a smartphone, we can get you one. I can't promise you, but if you get in touch with me, I'll get you a phone if you want to use it to come to meetings. That's how it's working for us at the moment. That's all you need. That's all you need. You don't need any bus fare. You don't need any travel. You don't need anything other than a phone. And you can sit down and you can come to meetings and talk to addicts in recovery all day, every day. We can help you. We want to be with you. We want to meet you at the gate, like Aidan said, but it might not be able to be, it might not be possible for the next few weeks at least. Look, please, I'm under no illusions. The last time I had a custodial sentence of any significance, I came out of prison clean. There was no Narcotics Anonymous. In 1980, I came out of prison on the day that John Lennon died, and we just celebrated, I can't think of the word, or acknowledged that it was 40 years ago, last December. That was the last time that I had any custodials, and I came out of prison clean. You were left to your own devices in prison in those days if you were using drug addicts. I was using drugs that made me really ill when I wasn't taking them. They just pushed you in a cell, hopefully, if you were lucky with someone who didn't mind too much, if you're unlucky, it was problems. And you were left to your own devices. I came out there clean and I managed to stay, I felt better about myself. I managed to stay clean for about an hour. NA didn't even exist, I don't think. Possibly Aidan might know, but in 1980, I don't think NA existed in the UK. So we had no help. And I managed to stay clean, keep myself clean for maybe an hour, you know, and I didn't feel so good about that. After saying to myself, right, I'm going to get on with my life. It's going to be different now. The gate, the other side of that gate, and I'm back in the real world. It's a huge transition. It's a huge transition. We know that, we recognize that. And I'm sure there's many of you who are listening to this who know that too. What can you do differently? When you come out, on the day you come out, access some help, get our helpline number, give us a call. There are people on the helpline who are there, can spend a bit of time and talk to you, tell you how to get to a meeting if they're on, tell you how to access a Zoom meeting if they're on. We can help you. We want to help you. Nothing, absolutely nothing makes my heart soar more than one day, hopefully one of you that are watching this and listening to this bumps into me at some NA meeting or a convention or something, taps me on the shoulder and says, I remember you. I remember when you blah, 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 blah. And guess what? I'm clean today and I haven't used that. Makes what we're doing, that's why we're here. We're here doing this today to hear that in the future. It might not be tomorrow, it might not be next year, but it will be at some time. And good luck. Enjoy your journey of recovery. No one's telling you that it's easy. If they are telling you that it's easy, they're not telling you the truth. But everybody is telling you that it's worth it. We're all sat here telling you, getting clean and staying clean is worth it. You're going to change the way that you live your life. And maybe, with a bit of luck, you'll learn to love yourself. And thanks for listening. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
It's Ken. Yeah, great.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everyone, for your time, your shares. Lovely. So you guys inside, if you've identified with anything you've heard, perhaps talk to the healthcare team. 50-60% of us on this screen are local to where this is initially going into, so you know, we're more than happy to give numbers. Like Ken has said, you know, we'll help in any way we can, and in the meantime, you know, kind of look after each other in there, look after each other, you know, support each other. There is the option to send off for a free copy of the Narcotics Anonymous basic text. We can make all that information available to the healthcare team, which we will do. With all that, I'll just leave it there. Hope to see you all soon.
Thank you.